YouTube and Star Wars Galaxy Hero fans. My name is HK58, and I'm going to talk to you about a few more uh, Galaxy Heroes ideas and stuff. So I'm going to talk about a few changes to a certain, yep, you see it, droid, a few certain droids. Not maybe some suggestions, but, some ideas to, hopefully if developers are watching this. Hold on, give me 1 second, I gotta, or it's Father's Day today. But give some ideas to developers if they're still working on trying to find a way to rework some of these characters. And I bet they may still have Grievous in the, they may have already reworked them and they're just waiting to release them at a certain time. Who knows? But obviously, two of the big ones are General Grievous and Magna Guard, but I'm not going to go through them right away. Because I personally like the idea of a droid team. Don't get me wrong. I love the idea of having a droid team. It's just some droids just don't stack up to the current meta. Especially with the new release of Thrawn. Oh boy, that one looks fun. Especially, I've actually seen one of the, I think it was Mobile Gamer or I don't remember right off. They did a video about using Thrawn in an interesting team where they have Boba Fett lead, Thrawn. They had Chirrut, but they did not have Baze. And I think they had at least one tank. I don't remember. It was kind of a weird team, but they're finding ways of actually making it to where Thrawn works in multiple different versions of teams, and that's quite interesting to see. I will admit, it is really quite interesting to see. But, so I'm just going to skim through the droids really quick. I was thinking about these yesterday, and which is the 17th of June. But like how my videos I always say what date it is. So the first one's IG-88. There's not much you can rework on him, maybe other than maybe his leader ability, because it kind of sucks. Hate to say, it does kind of suck. Oh, F7 Omegas, I didn't see that. And maybe his algorithm can help support droids, but outside of that, he doesn't really need a rework, other than maybe like percentage increases and his leader ability. Because he's on most droid teams. Of course, some people sub him out for R2. I prefer to sub IG-86 out for R2, just because you got Mortal Wounds, which allows you to get rid of healing immunity, and then you also have a chance to ability block, kind of like HK. R2's fine. If he's added into any more factions, they may add his uniques, add a faction to it, but outside of that, R2D2 is awesome. HK-47. There are some people in the forums I've noticed that said, oh, HK does not need a rework. I can agree to disagree to that. Yes. Hold on. Okay, that's what it was. Stupid stun cuffs. But anyways, I can agree to disagree with that, because I think HK does need some sort of a rework. Not like a super rework, but like a little bit more. Like some moves, like his basic, could have like a percentage increase, and maybe like a 200 increase in damage range. Meatbag Mayhem, I can see the chance of this goes up to 35, maybe 40 to 45% chance. But it is a lot of abilities, though, to inflict, but there's always tenacity checks and all that for each one, I think. So, honestly, maybe like an increase of 10 to 15%, no more than that. But also adding maybe, or keeping it at least 10%, 5 to 10%, I should say. But also adding either like stagger or days, add a new negative status effect to it, since we've added some new status effects. I'm not saying trying to make him like super overpowered, but just make him a little more just a little more effects and percent chances and stuff. Assassin Protocol, I did one of my forums, on one of the things I did on the forums, I posted, some ideas to change HK-47, and it wasn't like something like 100% crit chance and 100% turn meter on a critical hit. No, I didn't do that. I'm not one of those people that like to troll the forums. I actually was trying to do a little more legitimate, and because a lot of teams, like a Rebels team, they always have like, really good, decent leader abilities, especially like if you run like Well, Rex is Rex. He hasn't changed for a while, I believe, even though he does have a chance to be Zetaed, but I don't think anyone's going to Zeta Rex because he's just good. But like Darth Maul, he with his rework, he added such a crazy Zeta that makes him like through the roof. So, and like my ideas wouldn't be like super amazing or super powerful, just a ways to boost the droid team up a little bit more. Maybe like add like, scale it down from like 30% to 25, 20, 15, 10, and 5, and maybe a 35% of something. And, then keep the turn meter on critical hits. But, a chance to, maybe adding like critical damage, adding offense to one of those percent chances, or percent increases or whatever. Adding maybe some speed, maybe some critical avoidance. Because you don't see that much leader abilities, critical avoidance, and like I thought 25 or 35% critical avoidance would be great. It would make the droid team a little bit more viable. The only team that it doesn't really work against is a Darth Nihilus led team. But just adding just some of those type of abilities. I'm not saying like add 35 speed, but like maybe 20, 15 speed. Adding like 20 offense, critical avoidance in there, maybe some accuracy because assassins love their accuracy. So something to that nature to like beef it up a bit. And I bet you could always create a Zeta with this and give like maybe like I could also see his like chance to go up to 80% with 45% health, and then a Zeta to where just only for the next droid that's defeated outside of HK, they have like a 10 to 30% chance to revive at the 30 or 35% health. And after that, that's, it doesn't like do it to everyone, or unless it is a first time thing, but something that would just boost droids a bit. But I still think that HK, if he does get reworked, his leader ability may improve to where he may replace HK. But that turn meter gain is amazing when you crit. K2SO, he's a droid that could maybe do some rework. Like, I honestly think this should be just an Omega. Like, maybe a 6 or 7 costing Omega instead of a Zeta. Because just 1% increase, I don't know how well that does. I'd have to look up some gameplay to see how well a Zetaed K2SO is. I bet it is pretty good. And maybe it is correct to have it as a Zeta, but at least with the numbers, it looks like it's not enough. Especially if someone does more than that 1% damage of max protection gain, that it's just a useless gain. Unless it goes together, like they resolve at the same time to where you're gonna take the damage is gonna take out that protection, then maybe. Of course, if you have like Barris attack this, it would be like, oh, thanks for the extra protection. Barris does 5 attacks in a row, all non-crits, and you're probably just going to be like, okay, I got some, like up to 15% protection back, thanks. At least the looks of it. Well, it'll be just 1%, so. B2 is fine. I don't see any real. Oh, going back to K2SO, like, I like his unique counter chance with the chance of taunting, and then if he's damaged, he untaunts. It's kind of a different type of taunting effect. And I'm sure it could be seen in other areas. Rogue One teams like using them, even though lately Rogue One teams have also been replacing him with R2. And that is probably correct because R2's number crunch ability, was it number crunch or? Yeah, number crunch gives more stats than him. He could probably see a minor rework. Maybe a chance to, like a probably 90%, 85 or 80% chance to dispel negative status effects, especially since he's countering all the time. It's always nice. Just something to allow him to be a little better. Because there are some battles that I replace B2 with him because he's more survivable. And he also is taunting, so it keeps damage off of other ones. Like sometimes I'll do Galactic War with a droid team, and I'll replace B2 with him because he's just a better survivor. Well, actually, I would technically replace Jawa Engineer with him. And I usually go through the first like 8 or 9 before I really have to like start healing, just because they're always damaging him, and he's pretty survivable if you have him built right. I still got to improve his mods though. B2 doesn't really need any rework. He's still seen within the top 50 on certain teams. He does great with his Relentless Barrage, so I don't see any reworks with him. IG86 is the same. Like I said, some people replace IG88 with R2 and run him because he still gets a ton of chance of crit, like 4.5 crit chance and then 20% crit damage. Yeah. But yeah, he doesn't really need a rework. Maybe, I don't even know what to think to rework with him. IG Met 100 Magna Guard, he does need a rework. I also think he also needs to work with Grievous. And I'm probably one of the small few that also can see him work well with Dooku. But just in like a taunting factor, to where he taunts for Dooku so that Dooku, like especially in a Separatist team, so that Dooku actually can do his damage that he needs to do and not, get killed, because he was also supporting Dooku in a way in the Clone Wars. But he obviously, his main ties were with General Grievous. But like a lot of people are thinking that some way he actually taunts with his unique. I don't think a tank should have a chance to, if he's untouched, undamaged, that he gains speed up and then offense up, because he still doesn't do as much damage from what I've seen. But from the most, even though mine's not maxed out because I don't work on it as much, sorry about that. He still doesn't need that unique. He needs like a unique where he, like the counter chance is awesome. I'd keep that in it, but I'd change that up a bit. Like I've even, one of my forms I mentioned that he could also be an auto taunter. Like he starts the battle with taunt up but he only does it if General Grievous or Dooku is present. That way it makes more sense for him to be an auto taunter that way. It would kind of give us a third auto taunter. But outside of that, he doesn't really do much. But I also think his looks could be improved too. Like maybe his stance a little bit, like where he has the staff upright, and he has the cape. I like the idea of the Magna Guard having a cape, because he kind of reminds me of the Battlefront 2, the old Battlefront 2, where he runs around with a bulldog gun or whatever it was called, and with no cape. I like the idea of the Magna Guard having a cape on him. So that's kind of a cosmetic that I could see changed. Chopper, he does need a rework. I've already kind of covered him in previous 2 videos on some ideas to rework him. I don't see him really working well with droids. He's more Phoenix viable than a droid team. But it's cool that he is a droid. And oh no, it wasn't this one. Earlier today I did the Omega event where you needed Rebels and Ewok or something. Oh, Geonosians. And I took a Rebel team in with Lobot, a level 60 or 62 Lobot with R2 and K2SO. So I was like, fun trying it out. Of course, we stomped them because they're a K2SO and R2D is like 85. But yeah, like I said, I've already covered him. So Grievous is the one that really needs like super rework. His basic really is fine, other than you could always suggest that he can attack again. But if he attacks again, maybe the second one can be countered or can be evaded, or just leave it the way it is. Because it's kind of nice to have a basic where it can't be countered or evaded. So if he was actually reworked around the time Darth Maul was starting to see some presidents before Rex popped up, I could see it to where, or the Triple Cleanse teams, I can see where if he was reworked, General Grievous would actually be having fun tearing through the Maul teams a bit. Because you have evasion? Well, doesn't matter. I'm still attacking you. Oh, you have Duke on your team? Well, I can't counter. or if they had Obi-Wan on the team, because I've seen some with Obi-Wan or General Kenobi where they give Retribution. Oh, you have Retribution. That's too bad. Then Grievous wounds, he could probably have a % increase up. Maybe do something else. Like one of my suggestions was buff immunity. There's a lot of rework ideas for Grievous online, especially with like the tactical retreat. Like saying that they should have him target. I honestly think they should have him to where he has a random tank ally with more than 80% health to taunt for one turn. And then if not, then it goes to like some sort of algorithm where it actually makes it to have the strongest tank taunting first. And if that tank is already taunting, that doesn't matter. Or if he isn't, unless there's only one tank, then it automatically makes a tank taunt. And then it goes to some of the other ones. Because if you want to make like IG-88 or IG-86 taunting, that like that'll destroy that character. Because they don't need to be tanking. Squishy characters do not need to be tanking. Unless they have like 75% evasion chance, they should not be tanking. Not that they'll do that in the game. And his leader ability is probably by far one of the worst ones in the game. Especially since they've introduced mods. They give a ton of crit chance, crit damage. That this kind of weakens maybe the mods instead of the actual basic stats. So, you know, sometimes honestly, he could probably still do the negative, maybe even negative 30% chance, but also add some support to like Separatists and Droid allies where they get so much speed or offense or crit chance, crit damage, something to make him better. And then this one could also be Zeta and, like I said, be fixed a bit to improve it. Also, I would also suggest the taunting character also be cleansed as well, so that it would just make it a little more viable tank. So, but yeah, these are my thoughts on the droid team. If you like what you saw, you know, go ahead and you know, give your comments. I didn't really go over some of the went over some ideas for Grievous, but not like kind of direct ideas like I did with the Phoenix Squad, because Phoenix Squad I really looked into. Grievous I did look into with 2 different form comments, but they were both very similar to each other, and they didn't really have many comments. They've had quite a few comments, but not enough. So, but yeah, again, this is HK858, and I am out of here. You have a wonderful day, everyone.